but her heart really wants us to be back together again. And I've told her several times, which is a hard truth to tell your kid, no, that's not going to happen. I don't see that. But I have to express to her how much we both love her. And one thing I can say about her father is that he is a great father. We co parent very well together. In fact, their relationship is way better than the relationship we had as husband and wife. So, I mean, I have nothing negative to say about him or, the relationship that we have or the relationship he has with our kids. But that didn't just come overnight.
Right.
It's hard to forgive. And once I forgave him, for what he did and actually verbalized that to him, then I felt a burden lifted off of me because it's not a good feeling to walk around being angry, carrying that anger around with you because you can't open yourself up to others. And until you've gotten over that and matured enough to understand, sometimes things happen and have nothing to do with you. What happened between us may have not had anything to do with me personally, but some things that he may have been dealing with in, his personal life that he took out on me. So I'm in there, and if you all want to ask additional questions, I'm good with the additional questions.
So would you say you dealt with it?
Okay, we're just gonna put down your phone for a second. You can unmute.
I don't know how to mute this. It's mute. Let me see.
On your phone?
I don't have a mute button on here.
Okay. So, why are we just? But I can everything said. Let me move it. Hold on. Keisha, you talking?
Okay, so my question was done, and thank you for the story that you shared with us, and God feedback. We're just not that thing. However, when we talk about the topic we put out there, when we talk about the topic, how are you dealing with it? Are you dealing with it? What field you are? Have you dealt with it, or you feel this kind of like you have dealt with it? Because
Yeah, it's going to be very topic. Hold on,
Yeah,
guys.
I'm hearing every other word. So
are you there? Okay, is this better? He said yes. I'm not sure what the feedback.
Let us turn it down. Is that better?
Well, Shonda.
Okay. Okay, is that better, guys? Can you guys hear us now?
Okay, are you guys hearing us? No more echo?
Is that better? So, like Shonda, okay, great. So, I'm not sure what's going on with the feedback and the noise, but I'm sorry. Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah. So what I was trying to ask Shonda, maybe she can just type it in now since it's not being great. Um, so my question to Shonda, uh, I'm not sure if you guys were able to hear most of her conversation. We had her live. For whatever reason, we're getting feedback, so she disconnected. So we're just gonna talk to her via chat with the notes. So if you heard her conversation, you could just send a wave sign if it was heard, if you heard it, so you understand the questions that I'm asking her. And basically, she was just telling her story about divorce. I'm not sure if you all remember the question or what the topic that we're talking about. And to paraphrase, we're pretty much talking about would it been the beginning of school, the school year. We wanted to talk about something with having our babies, young adults going to school with a good mindset. And we know a lot of stuff with family and cyberbullying and trying to make sure you fit in can affect their mind. So we wanted to talk about divorce because that's the inevitable and it happens. And we wanted to talk about how does it affect you and your child and how do you deal with it, or are you dealing with it. the question pretty much in a paraphrase, and we had LaShonda Allen on telling her story about it. And so what I was trying to explain to her or ask her before, we just couldn't get the great hear clearly and get without all the echo
feedback
coming back in. My question was to her was going to be, it sounds like she's dealt with it, and I wanted to know, has she truly dealt with it, or is she still dealing with it? Because that was part of our question as well.
I can speak from a personal experience. LaShonda, I can totally relate to everything that you said when it comes to divorce, because I too am divorced. I have a son from that divorce. And divorce is like a death, like you said. So it's like stages that you go through with grief. And for my experience, I actually had to go through divorce counseling, right? So I had to go through that because I didn't understand it. And it was really, really bothering me. I didn't know how to handle it. So I went to a thing called divorce care. And in divorce care, they taught you that divorce is like grieving, and there are stages to grieving. There are many different steps, and one of the steps is bitterness, one of them is mad, one of them is angry, one of them is resentment, one of them is wanting to get back. So if you don't do that, if you don't deal with each one of those steps, then it will overtake your life, right? Because you're upset, you're mad all the time, and you don't know how to help your children because you're so hurt, you're so broken, and you don't know how to bring that in and how to, work with your kids because of that. And with me, it took a long time for my ex-husband and I to get to an agreement where we could talk because we were both angry, right? So it was like we had to do what was best for our child. We had to come to an agreement and say, okay, we have to put all this aside because it's about the kid. And we want him to be productive. We want him to grow up and be able to be a great citizen to society, And I think a lot of times we have to get children counseling as well because they deal with the divorce totally different than an adult does, right? Because they feel like they're the reason for the divorce. They feel like, oh, well, it was my fault, or if I would have done this better, if I would have did this a certain way, then maybe my parents would still be together, right? And so you have to work through all that with the child, and you have to have those courageous conversations. So LaShonda is saying it's an ongoing issue and will forever be as long as we are part of each other's life. Absolutely. I think it maybe gets better when the child gets older, because maybe you're not having so much communication and interaction with the other spouse, right? So maybe it's like, well, I don't have to continue to talk to him. My child can talk to him because they're of age. So they can have those conversations. One thing that I was always taught as being a child that wasn't raised with a father. My mother never ever spoke bad about my father. Never, not one time. And so she always told me when I grow up, then I would be able to make those decisions for myself. She didn't want to plant a seed of negativity. So I applaud her for that because so many times we make the other person look like the bad guy. It can be the mother, it can be the father. And I don't think we do it intentionally. I think we do it because we're hurt and we don't know how to get that out. LaShonda said, what matters most is how you deal with it. I choose to be optimistic and handle all interactions in a positive manner. That's called growth, LaShonda, because not a lot of people can do that, right? Not a lot of people can handle it from a positive manner because we're hurt, we're broken, we're mad. We're like, why didn't this work out? And some people say divorce ends well. Some people say that, we're still best friends to this day. I don't know that side. I don't know being best friends with my ex, because it was bitterness. Deb said, you got to forgive and ask for forgiveness and be there for your children. You do. But I don't think that comes overnight. I think that's a whole process that you have to go through. Of course, we're going to put on a brave face for our children. Of course, we're going to have them think nothing is wrong, because we want them to be strong. We don't want them to feel like, oh, is it my fault that they're not together? So yes, we do have to ask for forgiveness, and we have to pray. We have to pray. We have to be with a support group. We have to talk to people that's been through it, because I truly believe that if you've never been through a divorce, you can't tell me about a divorce because you don't understand it, right? It's just really, really bad to get advice from someone who's never experienced it, because a lot of time people are like, oh, just get over it. Oh, just move on. Oh, why are you worried about that? Go on with your life. It's not that easy, people. It's not that easy, especially if you've given your heart, you've given your soul, you've given your mind, you've given all this to a human being, and then it's just over. And one thing that I learned from my divorce counseling was divorce is worse than death, right? And the reason that they told me that was because death is final, right? You will never see that person again. You would never hear their voice again. They're gone. But with the divorce, you're going to see them again. You're going to interact with them, especially if you have children. So that's why my counselor said that it was worse than a death. Because you see this human being walking around and you just want to punch him sometimes, But that was my experience. And LaShonda, not sure if that was your experience or if that is your experience. And we had a twofold question. It was like, how are you dealing with it? And is it dealing with you? Thank God that, I've moved on, prayerfully he's moved on as well. I have a wonderful man in my life right now, that loves everything about me. And I love everything about him. So I'm so grateful that God actually put someone in my life to show me true love, and it's a battle, when you're divorced and you bring all that baggage into your current relationship, it's like, ooh, sometimes you can push the person that's trying to love you away because you're worried about what was instead of embracing what is, right? And so it takes a whole lot of growth. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of understanding for someone to be with someone that is divorced. I don't want to overtalk Key. I don't want to take anything away from her. But fortunately, Key has never, ever had to go through that.
Okay. This is,
right.
You've experienced, I haven't. My thing will be more along the part of how do you still make it work for the kids. No, I haven't experienced it. Thank God. And those who have, my prayers are with you and still with you. Like Deb just said, it took me years to get over mine, longer than I was actually married. 364 days. She was married a day short of a year, and it took her years to get over that. So I'm sure that is very devastating. But I guess me want to know who haven't experienced it. So how do you work with making sure the kids are okay? I'm sure it's hard. And I'm sure some kids know something's wrong with the parent because they probably can't function well. I've heard stories where people can't even get out the bed. And then those who put on that face, like you guys just said, and make sure the kids know it's not them. It wasn't them. How do you keep them going? So is that, in that case, is it dealing with you or you dealing with it? So how do we make it keep going to make sure the kids kind of have some kind of mental stability?
Well, I think that's where it comes in. And LaShonda, please chime in here. I mean, I want to hear your take, yours, Debbie's, and anyone else on here that's willing to share, your experiences, because we do want to help each other, right? Maybe someone's going through it right now. Maybe someone is in the process of getting a divorce and they don't know where to turn. They don't know who to talk to. And maybe by us having this open dialogue, we can help someone. Right? Because sometimes people are embarrassed to say that they're getting a divorce or that they are divorced. They feel like a failure. So hopefully, with these conversations that we're having, we can help someone. LaShonda said, I should have considered counseling for my children.
Okay.
Yes, LaShonda, That's very important. And I did, try to have counseling